Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about something huge, a story of untapped potential. We're going to dive deep into the gender gap in India's workforce, and trust me, it's a challenge that has massive implications for the country's future.
So to really get a handle on this, you got to understand the scale we're dealing with. India isn't just a big country. It's now the most populous nation on the planet. I mean, think about that. That's an incredible reserve of human talent, of energy. It's a resource that could literally power unbelievable growth.
But, and this is the big question for our whole explainer, is nearly half of that incredible potential just being left on the table? When you look at the data, it really seems like that's exactly what's going on.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of the problem. This isn't some vague, fuzzy issue. It really boils down to a tale of two very, very different numbers.
And you see the disparity the second you look at the data. I mean, it's crystal clear. For men aged 15 and up, almost 76% are in the workforce. But for women, that number just plummets to under 42%. That's a huge, huge difference, and it tells you a lot.
And that gap? We're not talking about a couple of percentage points here. It's a massive 34.1%. You know, that single number, it represents millions and millions of women who are outside the formal economy. It really points to a deep structural problem.
So naturally, this brings us to the big question, right? This isn't just happening by accident. There are some really powerful forces at play here. So what is it? What's actually holding them back?
Well, the first major barrier is something that's often invisible, but it's incredibly powerful. People call it the second shift. And it puts this huge, unfair burden on women, long before they even step out the door for a paying job.
So what exactly is this second shift? Well, think about all the unpaid work that happens at home. Childcare, cooking, cleaning, taking care of older family members. The key thing here is that this work is not shared equally. It basically becomes a second, full-time, unpaid job that lands almost entirely on women.
And look, the numbers here are just staggering. On average, women in India spend around 5 hours on this kind of unpaid work every single day. And for men, it's about 37 minutes. Just think about that massive difference in time and energy. It's no wonder it severely limits a woman's ability to even think about a career or professional growth or even just getting some rest.
But the second shift, that's just the first barrier. Once you look beyond the home, women run into this whole complex web of other hurdles. We're talking about things rooted in social norms, safety concerns, and of course, pay.
And the thing is, all these factors are connected. You have societal expectations that often push a woman's role in the home over her career. Then, in the workplace itself, that can turn into real biases in hiring and promotions, not to mention unequal pay for the exact same job. A lot of women also face what's known as the motherhood penalty, this intense pressure to leave work after having a child. And then you layer on top of all that very real, very basic safety concerns, just getting to and from work or working late. It all adds up.
So with all these complex challenges, you have to ask, what's being done about it? The good news is the conversation is starting to shift, away from just pointing out problems and towards actively creating solutions. So let's take a look at some of the key government initiatives that are trying to build a more equal workplace.
And it's really a multi-pronged approach. First up, there's Mission Shakti. This is all about empowering women by helping them develop new skills and creating safer environments. Then you have the Stand Up India scheme, which gives women entrepreneurs financial backing, helping them get bank loans to start their own companies. And third, there are some really crucial new laws that give direct support to working moms.
And one of the biggest changes is captured by this number right here. The updated Maternity Benefit Act now provides 26 weeks of paid maternity leave. This is a game changer. It directly tackles that motherhood penalty we talked about, giving women the critical support they need to stay in the workforce after having a child. The law even requires larger companies to provide childcare facilities on site.
And this really brings us to the bottom line. Of course, fairness and equality are absolutely vital. But this issue is even bigger than that. Empowering women in the workforce isn't just the right thing to do. It's a fundamental driver of economic prosperity for the entire nation. It's not just a social goal, it's an economic necessity.
So we kind of end up right back where we started, with this one fundamental question. We've seen the gap, we've seen the barriers, and we've seen the first steps towards real change. But what is it really going to take? From the government, from corporations, and from all of us in society, what will it take to finally, truly unlock the incredible potential of half the nation? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.